All right, what is up, Utah fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest, and multiple outlets are reporting that Jason Beck from New Mexico will be the new offensive coordinator for Utah. Very, very exciting stuff, guys. The deal is supposedly getting finalized, but we're getting enough reports saying this that I feel pretty damn confident going ahead and making the announcement that Jason Beck is going to be the new offensive coordinator for Utah. Very good stuff, guys. Jason Beck out of New Mexico had one of the most explosive, most high-flying, most powerful offenses in college football this past year. And for Utah to pick that, get this guy on the team is huge, right? This is going to be a big one. Greg Hawkins says, "Go Utes, baby." Cara Leones 54 says, "Let's go Utes. Let's go Utes, baby." It's a big one, guys. I'm going to break the numbers down here in a minute. This guy is no joke. He was kind of off my radar, and I think they finished pretty strong, and that boosted the numbers a little. Not that he was off my radar completely when I made the video. I was aware of this guy from New Mexico, but really, really impressive year for this guy. And I think I'm going to pull it up here. Let's put it on the screen, and we're going to break down the numbers. If anyone does have any interest in coming on and talking a little Utah football, I will drop the link in the chat. You don't have to video chat. You can just do audio if you want, but at least if you do want to come on, feel free, and we could talk a little Utah football if you're interested. Let's go ahead and pull this up, guys. Really, really impressive offense. So again, for 1 year, previously he was the offensive coordinator at Syracuse in 2023, and then in 2024 he was the offensive coordinator at New Mexico. This is Jason Beck, the guy that's being reported that the deal is being finalized for him to be our new offensive coordinator. If you're excited about it, smash that like button, guys. That'll help get the video out to more Utah fans, and comment in the chat. I really want to hear what everyone's thinking. I think my initial reaction was I wasn't that excited, but then I took another glance and I was like, oh, damn, this guy's really good. And I'm a little embarrassed that I didn't spend some more time talking about him. Let's take a look at this, guys. So right out the gate, this is the college football team yards per game for the 2024 season. And look which team is at the very, very top of this list, with only Miami being higher than them, and that is New Mexico. So super, super impressive, guys. New Mexico was doing nearly 500 yards a game with 498.9 yards per game. That is our new offensive coordinator. And just another thing to touch on here, Devin Dampier, the quarterback at New Mexico, Wyson, the wide receiver at Mexico, and other New Mexico players could possibly be transferring over to Utah. I'd say the quarterback's very likely, the receivers very likely. So we've got a fun time coming. Ridiculous Stan says, "Wish you weren't doing this while another Utah space is going." Well, what am I supposed to do? I had this scheduled. They did this because the news dropped, and I had nothing but support for the Utah spaces because San Antonio Utes always about them. And I'm he's a friend of mine, good guy. So, yeah, I wish I could join in there, but I got to do the channel. So, Caden Krause says, "Think we can land their QB, wide receiver one, and best running back." Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about there, Caden. Is I think we have very, very good odds, guys, of landing a bunch of the weapons that New Mexico had. Now let's go ahead and pull up New Mexico, guys, and take a deeper look at what this offense was doing. And so I'm going to touch on a couple things, guys. I'm going to touch on the good, the bad, right? Lanky Boy said, "I hope he's good." I mean, Lanky Boy, he had the number 2 yards per game offense in college football last year and the number 24 points per game offense in college football last year. So very impressive here. Let's take a look here. Again, points per game, 33.7. So that's number 24 in the country, where our offense was just dog crap last year and could barely, average more than 20 points a game. I think we actually wound up finishing with an average maybe less than 20 points a game. Don't quote me on that, but right around there for sure. Okay, so this is another stat that stood out to me, guys. Yards per rush. New Mexico averaged 6.8 yards per rush, which is number one in the country. 6.8 yards per rush, guys. So when we're talking about that Utah physical smash mouth style of football, that mentality that we play with, that is absolutely going to mesh really well. And Lanky Boy says it here, I hope Witt doesn't put restrictions on the offense. I hope he doesn't either. But when you look at those numbers, guys, this is a Whittingham type of guy where this guy plays the same style of football, that smash mouth, run the ball, smash, like just grind it out type of style, guys. Number one in the country in yards per rush, and that's accompanied with their number 31 in rushes per game. So they're running the ball a lot and doing it at a very high, very effective level. Guys, this looks like a really good hire, just so we're on the same page. So, and then you go right here, rushing yards per game. They were number 2 in rushing yards per game. So not only a really high yards per rush, but a lot of rushing yards per game and a lot of rushing attempts per game, nearly 40 rushing attempts per game. Imagine what this running back room might have looked like with this guy, kind of leading the charge here. Really imagine it, guys, like what we could have been looking at here. Jalen Glover's getting more carries. Mike Mitchell's getting more carries, Mekhi Bernard, and probably significant. I mean, 6.8 yards a carry, guys. That's number one in the country, and there's not too many behind it that are even close. Just so you guys understand, this is a really high-powered offensive attack, and I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing here. Now, yards per pass, a little low, 7.1, just slightly below average. That's the number 71 yards per pass team in the country. A little low on the completion percentage, 57.14. You'd like to see it at least be 60. Then QB sacked percentage, though, check this out, 1.36%. They've got a few number 1 and number 2 stats on here, guys. That means they were the best at college football at doing this. Now, QB sack percentage, 1.36%. I think a lot of that's Dampier, and I think if we get him, that's a really exciting sign. He doesn't take a lot of sacks, right? He's very electric. And Dampier is the quarterback alongside Jason Beck, if you guys aren't aware of that. He is the guy that was running this offense and making it go throughout this game. Now, this is a little bit of a concern here. Now, this is kind of the knock on Dampier, the quarterback that's probably coming along with Beck, is this number right here. Now, 1.6 giveaways per game. That's number 89 in the country. That's pretty low, right? That's pretty rough. And Dampier, so this is the story with that kid, is 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions is his stat line. So I don't want to get too in the weeds on Dampier, but he's probably going to be our quarterback next year. At least I'd say vying for that starting spot. And I can't imagine he wouldn't be the guy, right? And 3.3% interception throw percentage, number 98. So there's good and bad for sure. I'd say the bad is obviously you're not getting that high-flying passing attack that I think a lot of us wanted, including myself. I'm not going to shy away from that. But the good is we are getting a smash mouth, nasty run game that will complement what Witt wants to do, the type of football that we like to play, and the type of style of game and ball control that we like to run. Now, a couple other things to point out. New Mexico did not play a super tough schedule this year, right? Strength of schedule wise, they're number 118 in the country. And it depends where you look, but the site that I use is Team Rankings, and I trust what they say, and I usually go with whatever they're putting out. And so that's pretty low, right? Like that's pretty low. It means they didn't play a tough schedule. But also New Mexico, believe it or not, it lined up exactly perfect. They also have the number 118 roster quality. And the reason I bring that up, guys, is yeah, they're playing the number 118 schedule. But according to the 24/7 composite rankings for rosters, the New Mexico was 118th as well, right? So this is not a team that was stacked with talent. Like Jason Beck was able to take what he had in this room, get creative, figure something out, and turn this from an offense that no one wanted to look at into a high-powered attack. Like I mentioned, guys, they were a below average offense last year, and he turned them into a really high-powered offense this year. Very, very impressive. SpongeBob says Dampier is a stud. Yeah, I really like what I see. I think the turnover thing might be tough with Witt. I don't see how he's going to love that. I mean, a guy that plays that risky of football, but is what it is. Greg, you commented exactly what I was just saying. You said UNM doesn't have a ton of talent. They were projected to be last and only win 2 games. Yeah, not only were they the 118th composite roster ranking in the country, they were second to last in roster talent in the Mountain West as well. So basically every team they played all year had a leg up on them talent wise, and they only actually finished 5-7 in their overall record. This offense just kept going at it and putting up numbers. So very impressive there. David says red zone scoring offense. He had number 9 in the country. That's good to know. David, thank you very much. Greg says they would have won a ton more games if not for their defense. The offense was absolute fire. Yep, that's what the numbers tell us, right? Super high-powered, super effective offense with a defense that kind of just let them just disappointed quite a bit, right? Now, let's also take a look. I'm going to pull up their schedule here so we can take a look at it because, let's see how they got their points and kind of how this actually went down throughout the year. So right out the gate, they go up against Montana State. They lose that game, but this offense puts up 31 points, which you'd expect against the Montana State. But I think this number is pretty impressive here. Arizona, a power conference school that has incredibly more talent than a New Mexico does, and they were able to put up 39 points. Yes, Arizona ran up the score on them, but this was a school that has way more talent than them, and they were able to get 39 points. So super impressive there. Then not so impressive here, right? Auburn, again, probably even a bigger talent differential than what they would have had against Arizona. And Auburn, they only put up 19 points. So that's not what you'd like to see. And then Fresno, a very good Mountain West school, they only put up 21. So yeah, you'd like to see better there, but overall, I think that sample size is about average, kind of what you'd expect. There's some good games in there. There's some bad games in there. But then check out this run here, guys. We played Utah State. We didn't put up 50 points against them. They go 3 games back-to-back, all wins, where the offense had to just rack up points to win them the game. And they won all 3 games, and in each game, put up 50-plus points. New Mexico State, Air Force, and Colorado and Utah State. Very impressive there. Then right after that, I don't get this really. Colorado State, they put up 6 points, the clear black eye of their season. What in the hell is that? You put up 6 points against Colorado State. That is just embarrassingly low. You got to do better than that. And then Wyoming, they 45 points against Wyoming, San Diego State 21, Washington State 38, and Hawaii 30. So an offense that really did more than most people expected them to do. There was a decent amount of up and down, some hot and cold there. But when they were hot, this was one of the most powerful offenses in the country. It really was. And guys, number one thing to remember is they were outmanned in almost every single game they played. Really consider that Utah, even this year with a down year for us, we have the number 4 or 5 recruiting class this year for the Big 12. We are going to have the superior roster in almost every single game we play, right? Almost every single game we play. And our ability to develop talent isn't even included into that. And so if he's able to do this with, a very, very rough roster, imagine what he's going to do with that Utah roster just racked up with talent. So I also want to take a little bit of time to actually break down the team. Let's do a deeper dive. This is going to be the first time I'm doing like a deep dive on all the players that were on this team, kind of how they spread the ball around. Obviously, I know about Dampier, but I want to take a look at the ESPN stats for the New Mexico team this past year. Is this, let's see, stats. Okay. Oh, wait, this is basketball. All right, boom. New Mexico football. All right. Okay, so let's take a look here. So Devin Dampier, guys, we'll start off looking at him. 2,768 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 71.3 QBR. And his rating on the year is, he had some up and down here. You look at these QBRs, they're pretty good, especially compared. They're not amazing, a 71.3. But this is overall grade, but it's way better than what we had, right? And his supporting cast around him was way worse than the supporting cast that our quarterbacks had around them. And you even think about some of the games where Rose looked decent, it would be about what Dampier's average was last year. The really impressive thing about Dampier is this side of the stat line, the rushing yards, where he had 155 rushes for 1,166 rushing yards and 19 touchdowns. So he nearly doubled the amount of touchdowns he had through the air, on the ground. Really explosive runner. And you guys can kind of see the highlights over here on the right side of the screen they're playing. Very, very impressive runner, guys. And a guy that I really do hope he does come along for the ride. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I don't know how I'd feel about him being our locked in 100% he's the guy. But I would really want him on this team. Maybe you get him, and then you got Rose and Wilson competing for that top spot, right? I don't know exactly what that'll look like, but I would say Dampier feels like a guy that Utah could definitely develop, right? I could see it kind of going either way, though. I could see him crashing and burning at Utah because it's going to be so much stricter about what you can and can't do than he was used to. Or he sharpens up and cuts those interceptions in half, if not less, and then we go from there. So let's go ahead and take a step back, though. Let's look at the other players for this New Mexico team. What did the rest of this roster look like? So Eli Sanders here, right? 147 carries for 1,063 yards. So this was a team that just ran the ball extremely well. 7.2 yards a carry with over 1,000 yards for, 7+ yards a carry with over 1,000 yards for the quarterback and the main running back. And then you look down the line here, guys, a bunch of guys with 100, 200+ carries that are 5.6 yards a carry, 6.9 yards a carry, 5.2 yards a carry, multiple touchdowns. I mean, this is you guys want to talk about keeping a lot of our running backs. I mean, damn, this would be so exciting, and it is exciting. And I would love if we could get this Eli Sanders guy to come over to Utah as well. We're going to look at the PFF grades as well here in a little bit, so we can take a look at some of these guys that we may be getting from the team and see kind of what PFF's thoughts are, how good they did on a play-by-play metrics type of deal. Greg Fugel says the QB Dampier had only 12 throwing touchdowns, but 19 rushing touchdowns and over 1,000 rushing yards. He can improvise like Cam. And then Greg says the receiver is number one in the portal too. Wysong is scary, underrated. He's Utah tough. We should go after him. You know what? Let's actually take a look at Wysong. What did those stats look like? All right. Wysong is their leading receiver. Yeah, he's right here. 840 yards. Luke Wysong. All right, 5'10", 184 pounds. Could he be our next Britton Covey? Giving off that vibe. Let's check out the stats here. Okay. And yeah, definitely last year was his best year in the program, but he's been there a while. And you look at that, guys, 840 yards and only one touchdown. I think that's kind of a good sign for Dampier in the sense where Dampier only had the 12 touchdowns and then he had 12 picks. But his number one targeted wide receiver just, I mean, that low of a yards to touchdown rate feels like a luck type of deal where there's, that's probably going to bounce back. If he does 600, 800 yards for Utah, there's probably a few more touchdowns added in there. So that's kind of a good sign there. And I think this would be a guy that we'd want, him and Sanders coming over with the crew. Again, I want to, after this, we're going to dive into the PFF grades, but I would, or just early take is that would be a great group, like a trio to bring over. Imagine we take what we currently have on offense with this awesome offensive line, deep running back room. We just brought in Racine Guillory. We still got Mike Mitchell. We got a lot's going to shake up over the next few days, but we still have a ton of talent, guys. We still have a ton of talent, but I'd say this Eli Sanders guy could be really good, that running back there. But let's go ahead and check out the PFF grades for this New Mexico team, and we can get a deeper idea of, kind of what his team actually looks like on a grading basis. I'm wondering how PFF has this quarterback graded. If you guys are appreciating the video too, please don't forget to smash that like button. That'll help get it out to more Utah fans, and join in the chat in the comments. Make sure you guys follow along. Love to have you guys, chat it up with us. And I always enjoy the conversation with you guys. So here it is, guys. Let's take a look. Okay. 89.7 PFF grade for Devin Dampier. I didn't see that coming. Damn, bro. Or is it? I guess it's probably Devon. Just looking at how it's spelled. I guess it's Devon. So sorry about that if it is. Yeah, but 89.7 PFF grade for Dampier, the number 16 ranked quarterback according to PFF last year. That is very, very impressive. Wow. Good stuff. 85.5 run grade, 79.4 pass grade. And that 79.4 pass grade, considering how many picks he threw, I mean, he must have done a good job, and maybe a lot of those were a little outside of his control, just looking at that grade. Let's move on to the wide receivers. Let's see how this Luke Wysong kid did. And then I also want to look at their other wide receivers, see how they did. Like, what is this? How's this? How good is this guy? Oh, Luke Wysong, 77 overall receiving grade. That's very, very good, guys. It's like borderline elite, where Dampier's grade was elite, but this is borderline elite. That's very good. Then you look here, like all their receivers that are getting reps are, 65, which is an average grade, and then a 73.4, which is, good. So very cool. Let's check out this running back. I'm actually really excited also after running backs to check out their offensive line for PFF. That should be a fun one as well. Okay. New Mexico. Okay, there he is, guy. Eli Sanders, almost in the 80s, a 77.7 grade. That's very, very, very good. And that's what you expect from a beast running back like that. Imagine we bring this kid over to, and he's running behind that Utah offensive line, guys. Oh, man, that gets me excited. All right. And then let's check out some of the running backs that got less carries. So some of the guys that got less carries, this guy had 158 snaps. This guy, Naquari Rogers, I won't pull it up, but I'm going to go to the other tab and tell you guys what this kid did. This guy was 74 carries for 382 yards, 5.2 yards a carry, and 5 touchdowns. So this is like the next running back getting the most reps, like getting the most time. Or I guess Javen Jacobs also. Let's check out this guy. 70.3. Not a crazy good grade, but a good grade, well above average. So Javen Jacobs, this guy was 277 yards on 40 carries, 6.9 yards a carry. So really good numbers for him too. So it's not just Eli Sanders being some freak. This is a guy that develops running backs, has a good run scheme, makes the defense guess and keeps them on their toes. I like to see that. Brandon Trujillo. Oh, have I not been showing the PFF grades on the screen? Sorry about that, guys. I thought I was showing the PFF grades. Let's get those on the screen. Smash the like button if you appreciate it. Sorry about that. Yeah, I wish someone would have said something. Greg or Brandon says, I really don't like how dependent the offense is on the QB run game. Yeah, but Brandon, I wouldn't agree with that. When we were looking at the stats, yes, the QB run game really boosts things, but they would be over 6 yards of carry without the QB runs. And then if you would have given more runs to, if you would have given more runs to the running back, they would still have a ton of yards. This was a deadly running game. Greg says, feels like it was end zone picks based on the stats. Didn't see any games, though. J Spider Flash, I would not start Wilson, redshirt him. Brandon, the scheme doesn't fit Wilson or Rose. I wouldn't be surprised if they both transfer. Yeah, I don't know. Richard says Wilson is going to the portal. We'll see. All right. And boom. All right, let's move on to tight ends here, guys. Tight ends. And that is a position that we specialize in. I'm excited to see what he does with the tight ends. So not great tight end grades here, but I would also say, guys, if you've been following the channel for a while, or if you followed PFF grading for a while, tight ends don't tend to grade out well. So yeah, you'd like to see better grades. I won't, I'll call it as I see it. You'd like to see better grades at tight end. Let's go ahead and take a look at this offensive line. This will be the first one for center for New Mexico. 73.6. That's a very good grade. Number 27 center in the country. I like to see that. And then this guy that was getting some reps as well was a 65.7, which is still an average grade. So right out the gate, I'm optimistic about what the rest of this is going to look like, and he's looking like a guy that develops offensive line pretty well. And I would imagine that he must have a good run blocking offensive line with the way that his team puts up numbers. It's incredibly impressive. Okay, again, another above average to good, and Bakara Beckett, pass block 91.2, run block 67.6, and then. This guy, the backup again here, an above average backup. That's really good to see. Sometimes offensive lines can be very top heavy. Justin says if Dampier comes with, I could see them transferring, which is fine with me. We have some dogs coming in. Yeah, I don't want anyone to transfer out, but do what's best for you. Speaking of what's best for you, look whose name is the number 2 graded offensive tackle in the country, and the number 1 isn't even on here. I'm not sure what would be. Maybe he's I don't know why it's not showing who number 1 is, but yeah, it's Spencer Fano, who had a hell of a year. All right, so now let's check out the offensive tackles for New Mexico. And honestly, guys, as we go down this list, maybe we could grab some of these guys, right? Okay, so not great at the offensive tackle position, but the good news is, he's coming into an offense that already has 2 proven very good offensive tackles. So that's good. Capisi says, check out the Wazoo win. Pretty impressive. Yeah, I actually think I did watch some highlights of that game. Yeah, pretty cool game. And Wazoo had a good team this year, so that was a good game to watch. So that is the whole offense for PFF stuff. Let's see. So that'll be the offense. So I'll stop sharing the screen. Really good stuff. Mason Lyman says, go Utes, baby. Yeah, I would say this was kind of my emotions about the hire. Is I had my guys that I wanted, and he wasn't on the list. And when I saw that he got hired, I was like, I was like, he's pretty decent. But it's official. I was like, but anyways, it looks like it's official. So yeah, a bunch of comments. So yeah, it looks like he is officially the offensive coordinator for Utah. Very good. Very good thing I made the video, right? Well, hopefully, I'm wondering if anyone will start trickling in here now that it's official. So that's fun. Very good. And then Justin says Spencer Fano winning the Heisman as a tackle next year. Not sure if that's going to happen, but still a very, very good offensive tackle. Why don't we go ahead and pull back up some of these numbers for people that might just be joining that didn't see the beginning. of the show, now that it is official that Jason Beck is the offensive coordinator for Utah. Guys, these numbers are ridiculous. Smash the like button if you're excited. Check. This is one we didn't even mention earlier. Fourth down conversion and third down conversion, number 19 in the country and number 11 in the country. Do you guys know how important third down conversion is? I mean, that is probably the number one stat you could look at for anything, right? Third down conversion is what keeps your offense on the field. But then on top of that, guys, you look at the other numbers here. Red zone scoring percentage, number 9 in the country. 93.48% of the time they are putting up points when they're in the red zone. I mean, damn, guys. You got to love to see them capitalizing. Number 24 in the country points per game. Number 2 in the country yards per game. Again, they played an easier schedule, the 118th schedule in the country. So, one of the easiest schedules in the country, but they also had one of the worst roster qualities in the country. So, and again, just if you guys aren't aware, he was the offensive coordinator at Syracuse before this, and he dealt with a ton of injuries and a ton of problems with that offense and was still able to keep them alive and keep them in contention in games. So very good there. And then you scroll down here, guys, yards per rush, 6.8 yards per carry. That is number 1 in the country. That means when they run the ball, they are getting nearly 7 yards a carry. That is a crazy number. And then on top of that, guys, they're 31 in the country with how many times they run the ball per game, almost 40 times per game. And they're rushing for 262.9 yards per game. So that means their philosophy is, let's line up. We're going to run. We are going to make you guess, and we are going to confuse you, and we are going to punch you in the mouth over and over again. And that is that Utah style of football. This is going to fit so damn well with what we do. The negative, the knock, right, is going to be that the pass game could be a little better. You love the low sack percentage, number 1 in the country. Not, quite a few of their stats are very high in the national rankings, but interception thrown is quite high. Passes per game is, decent. They keep the ball quite a bit. Yards per pass a little low. And then pass yards per game, actually pretty decent considering how high their rushing yards are. They're still above average in passing yards per game. You got to like to see that. Jorge Galvez says he's a BYU guy, QB and longtime Bronco assistant. Very good pick. I'm a BYU fan. Congrats, you fans. Well, thank you. I like to see that. I think he is a very good pick as well. And I also want to go back to what I was saying. So when the announcement, when the reports started rolling in that things were getting finalized and things were about to be official, I was initially like, okay, decent pickup. But then I don't think I had really looked into this guy, because what I was looking at was New Mexico this year and New Mexico last year. And last year, New Mexico had a significantly worse offense, but Beck was only the coordinator this year. So what we're getting is a guy that's really only had one really good year. And so there's some risk in that. But the reason he wasn't on my radar was that he didn't have 2 good years. That was kind of the criteria for me, where I wasn't looking at anyone that didn't have 2 good to great years. And, that just giving you the info there. And then I looked into him more, guys. Number 2 in yards per game in the entire country. I mean, damn. And he's doing it with one of the worst rosters in football, guys. Let's take a look here. Brandon says the Wysong kid's legit. That's the receiver from New Mexico that should be coming along with him. He was having his way with the Arizona secondary. Would love to have him. I would love to have him as well. Capisi. Guys, let's not be negative. Seriously, Capisi, I know you've been around. I know it ain't your first time here, so I appreciate you being around. But let's not do this whole Witt's gonna handcuff these boys. They can't do anything because of Witt. Guys, let's just be happy about what we have here. And this guy is proven in a run-heavy offense that he can do it in a run heavy offense. So let's see what he does before we assume that they're not going to be able to do that. I don't like that. I don't want to have that mindset, and I don't want to do that. So yeah. By the way, Tim Patrick had 2 touchdowns tonight. Yeah, very good. Shout out to Tim Patrick, former Ute. Mason says, through our losing streak, we averaged 13 points a game. Yeah, guys, think about that. We are going from an offense that averaged 13 points a game during our losing streak, and this guy averaged 33.7 points per game. I actually want to pull up our team stats and compare some of these. So let's go through it here. Yeah, so we averaged 21.3 points per game. That's what I said earlier, is right around 20 points per game. So 21.3 points per game. So their offense was averaging nearly 12 points per, or actually a little over 12 points per game higher than ours. And then our offense for rushing yards per rush was 3.8, number 89 in the country, where New Mexico was 6.9 or 6.8. That's number 1 in the country for yards per rush. So this was an offense that had the same philosophy as us, but just did it at such a better level and such a higher quality. And then you even look at the passing game. Like, our passing game, yards per pass was lower than them. Our passes per game was lower than them by quite a bit. Our passing yards per game was not even in the ballpark of them. It was 187.7, and they had 236. And then interception throwing percentage, believe it or not, ours was worse. Yeah, we were at 4.52% interception throwing percentage, and they were at 3.30 percentage. We were actually one of the worst teams in the country, number 125 at interception throwing percentage last year. Damn. And QB sack percentage, we were 6.74, and they were 1.36, number 1 in the country. Again, I would probably credit a good amount of that to Dampier, but still very, very impressive stuff there. Cohen says, I'm just getting here, so I don't know if you talked about it yet, but we should go for the New Mexico QB. Yeah, we were talking about that, guys. We should get, hopefully we're getting Wysong, Sanders, and Dampier from New Mexico. And if you guys aren't aware, Wysong looks pretty legit, but I would say Sanders looks like a beast. I'll pull up their stats real quick for some of you guys that are just jumping in. Let's see here. So, checking out the stats for the New Mexico players. So check this out, guys. Dampier running the ball, 19 touchdowns, 7.5 yards a carry, 1166 yards rushing. But then check this out, guys. This is a true running back. The true running back here, Eli Sanders. Let's pull him up on the screen. 147 carries, 1,063 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 7.2 yards a carry. This is a very good running back, guys. This is a very good one. Craig says negative on QB New Mexico. Not sure what you mean. Capisi says Sanders is a playmaker. Utah needs experience there. Yeah, I would really like to see that guy come into this room. I can't imagine that we wouldn't be gunning for this kid, right? Justin says Dampier had more yards than Bernard. Wow. Yeah, seriously. Like the passing game, you'd like to see better, right? He was 12 for 12, touchdowns and interceptions. But he also graded out very well passing through PFF. Let's go ahead. We could pull that up again for those of you guys just jumping in here. All right. Mountain West. Okay, New Mexico. Let's put this on the screen. Okay, so this is Devin Dampier, guys, the quarterback from New Mexico. That, it seems like all the tea leaves are pointing in the direction that he will be a Ute eventually. I messaged him on Twitter and I said, "You ready to be a Ute?" Spoiler alert, he didn't message me back, but that's okay. I just, let's see if he does message us, right? It's I'm hoping we could pull that off. If we could get Dampier, that'd be a big get, and I'd be pretty excited about that. But again, I don't know if I'd just stamp that, right? I'd want us to still attack the position a little more. But if you're going to have him compete with the other guys, I think that's good. But I would love to get him. And then, a bunch of the other guys looked really good as well. So lots of talent that could be coming over to us from New Mexico, guys. Yeah, I'm excited, guys. I think this is going to be a big pickup. Before we get out of here, guys, very excited about the future for this offense. New Mexico, this offensive coordinator, number 2 in yards per game this year, number 24 in points per game, Jason Beck, had one of the worst offenses or like roster talents in the country and was able to make a really high-powered offense with it and averaged 6.8 yards per carry running the ball, and really looks like a guy that could just bring a jolt of life to this offense. I'm very excited to see what this guy can do. He's also, a Utah guy. He's got BYU roots in his past, I believe. And so he's a Utah guy. So he's going to be here. He's going to be happy to be here. He won't just be looking for his next gig. He'll understand how big of a deal it is to be the Utah offensive coordinator. Before we get out of here, guys, please smash the like button. That'll help get the video out to more Utah fans. And if you could, share the video with a friend that you like to talk Utah football with. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, follow on Twitter. I'd love for you guys to be along for the ride. We put out a ton of content just like this. And I'm on the East Coast, so if it wasn't 11:38 right now, I'd go for a little longer. But I still have to work tomorrow. I can be 80% tomorrow because it's Friday, but I still got to work. So, all right, guys, I am out of here. Go Utes.